3, 2, 1. All right. Here we go. Write down this rate, ratio, and proportions. These are all very much the same thing or very relatable to each other. What is the difference between the three, you ask?
What's the difference?
What's just a ratio? Is a comparison of two quantities using, what's it say here, division. An example would be ratio of boys to girls. How many boys in here?
12.
And how many girls? 4. So you reduce it, your ratio is 4 to 2. Wait, 2 to 1. So for every 2 boys, there's 1 girl. Again, a fraction is nothing more than division, so that is where that whole ratio business comes from. Then we have a rate. What's the difference between ratio and rate? Well, the book defines rate as quantities that are measured in comparing using quantities that have different measurements. Obviously, one of the most obvious rate things you talk about is speed, which is miles per hour. 2 different quantities that you're comparing. You know, miles per gallon, problems per minute, points per game. 2 different quantities, different measurements that you compare with that. Oh, time is too short here. Then we have unit rate. And the definition of unit rate simply is rate where the denominator is 1. And that's usually when we do stuff like, for example, miles per gallon. Okay, if you get 35 miles per gallon, it's 35 miles per 1 gallon. That is a unit rate. Rather than somebody saying, my car gets 70 miles per 2 gallons. Okay, if you're making something as easy as it could be, you would want a unit rate. For example, if you go into the store, the 30-ounce box of, I don't know, Cheerios, cost, wait, sorry, let me flip that around. It's always cents per ounce. The $1.80 box of Cheerios is 30 ounces. If you're comparing that to the $1.50 box, that is, I don't know, 25 ounces, it really doesn't do you much good to tell which one's the better deal, because you have to do a lot of math to figure out what it is. So the store will always give you the unit rate, which means you want to know how many cents per 1 ounce, so you can compare them. This one is how many cents per ounce. Well, make this 180 cents divided by 30. Maybe you can do that math. It is 6 cents per ounce, right? This one over here, how many times is 25 going to 150?
6.
6 cents per ounce. So now you can tell which one's the better deal, which is they're both the same. Right? That is unit rate. Okay? You want to get a 1 on the bottom if you're comparing things. Generally rates, we do try to use the unit rate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for what today is all about, proportions. What is a proportion? Just nothing more than equal ratios, equal rates, equal fractions. Or as the book says it, 2 ratios that are equal. And we get to the whole kit and caboodle. It's terrible. This is 1. Let's do 1. So if you have x over 15 equals 2/3. Start with the easy one. If you have proportions and you're trying to solve them, Amelia Goss, the easiest way to solve them is by doing what in this case?
Cross multiply.
Not always. This is easier than cross multiplying. We're getting to that. This one is just to do what, Carteret?
3 times 1 is 15.
Yeah. You just look at this. Make equal fractions. 3 times 5 is 15. So 2 times 5 is x equals 10. That's the first thing you should look. Now, Amelia said this would be Amelia's thing. Well, what if it was this? 2/3 equals x over 10. Now, Amelia says, well, 3 times what is 10? It doesn't go in it evenly. So, now we would use, cross multiply or cross products, we call it, which means 2 equal fractions, their diagonals multiplied together are always equal. So 3 times x has to equal what 2 times 10 is. So 3x is going to equal 20. Divide by 3, divide by 3. And you can leave your answer as 20/3. It doesn't work out nicely, but you're in 8th grade, and that's just what happens. We've done this before. This is nothing new. But now, to what we have not done before. Here is, right out of the book, x minus 1 over 12 equals 1 over 6. By the way, some of you probably, a couple of you may be able to do this in your head and tell me what the answer to that is. Well, I'm sure you actually could, but let's not do it in our head. How would you do something that looks like this? Same way as this, except you have to remember, when you do your cross products, you have to think about this as being one whole unit. So when you do the multiplying of 6 times it, it has to look like this. 6 times x minus 1. That equals 12 times 1. So you're going to have to do a little distributive property there. 6x minus 6 equals 12. Add 6, 6x equals 18. X would equal 3. Now, like I said, you probably could have done this in your head, right, Carteret? Because as you looked at this, what number would you have to have over 12 to equal 1/6?
2.
You need this to be 2. So what number, when you subtract 1 from it, gives you 2? 3. But you're not always, they're going to get a lot harder than that. You don't want to have to do that. And you say, hey, show me something a lot harder than that.
Something a lot harder than that.
This one doesn't look to be that hard. I want one that's hard, people. Just stay in math book with other easy problems. Sometimes you guys should feel offended that they're so easy. I know you do. Well, how about this? 5 over n plus 2 equals something. 10 over 16. And again, you're not going to find that terribly difficult. I know what the answer is. Here, let's change it. Now you know what the answer is, Evelyn?
6.
Huh?
Wait, no. Huh?
Now do you know what the answer is?
5. I got the first one before you did.
Now do you know what the answer is?
Well,
Savage?
wait a minute.
Alright, so let's do this one now that Savage doesn't know the answer.
I got the first one.
Cross products, 8 times, again, you have to think of this as one big group, n plus 2 equals 5 times 14. Distributive property, 8n plus 16 equals 70, I guess, we'll just put that down there. Subtract your 16, subtract your 16, 70 minus 16 is what? 54. 8 n equals 54. Divide by 8. You can't leave it as 54 over 8 because that can be reduced to 27 over 4. No wonder you couldn't get that. It didn't work out evenly. Oh, yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? All right, your assignment is just to do on lesson number 31, the practice problems. Practice problems. There's not many.